We'll now have our third and last speaker.
Hi, my name is Tom Palzer. I'm running for the United States Senate to restore conservative Republican government to our state and also the nation. By way of background, for 32 years I served as an urban and regional planner. My last job before I retired at the age of 58 was Deputy Director of Operations for the Chicago Area Transportation Study. Just a small job that involved taking the transportation plans of the city of Chicago, the air, water, transit of all kinds, and the plans from all the transit districts of 7 counties, including Cook County, where, yes, people still vote from the grave during elections. And also the transportation plans from 234 municipalities. My job is to sort of crunch those down into one plan. That's why I have this colored hair at the present time. Used to be my golf game, now it's that. I consider myself a non-political conservative Republican running for the United States Senate. Why do I say non-political? I say non-political because whereas my dad was a precinct committeeman for 39 years, my mentor, he would recruit, vet, and then he would help candidates with their campaigns. I, on the other hand, worked with and advised elected and appointed officials for 32 years, and that can really get to you. The good thing about getting to you is that you learn things. You learn things about politicians, how they work. You provide, as an urban planner, executive director of planning, and the deputy for operations, how to relate to not only your job as a public servant, but how you maneuver between politicians and the press, which I've done for a long time. So if there is one principal thing I'd like you to recall or take away from my presentation, is experience. I've run for office in the past, and I know the commitment and strategies involved in a campaign. I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran. I served on the island of Crete, Greece, weather just like this, while my friends were in Vietnam. I lost some friends in Vietnam. Also lost a friend who came back and had that terrible experience with PTSD and took fire. I have a master's degree to support this urban and regional planning gig for 32 years. So I also want to mention that I signed the Manhattan Declaration, which stands for 3 things: the sanctity of life, the dignity of marriage between a man and a woman, and religious freedom. I too, with Bob, have signed a no tax initiative. I think we can work within the budget that we have right now and provide for the needs of Americans. If we provide for the needs of Americans, they, us, we will be able to provide for our wants. We will have that upscale. We'll have that boots pulling up and overcome a 60-year culture of welfare. We need welfare to work programs. You remember the CCC programs during the Roosevelt administration? Let's put people back to work, train them to rebuild our infrastructure. I think it would be a great thing to do, since I hit about 5 potholes on the way out here. And it's great to be in Ventura County for the first time. So in the Senate, I'll work very hard, and I won't need out on-the-job training with the background I've got. It's vitally important that we fully fund our national defense and our state and local law enforcement, while at the same time we seal our borders. We need to degrade and eliminate ISIS and all terrorist organizations. We also need to support Israel and keep Iran from developing a nuclear capability while watching North Korea, because that's where the centrifuges are being built, and in the wink of an eye, they'll ship them right over to Iran. We need to take the Iran treaty, or non-treaty, and just shred it. I would never let John Kerry negotiate a tiddlywinks match, let alone a treaty to keep a country from developing nuclear power. I'm sorry, we should be selling ketchup along with his wife. And for the second time in our generation, we're facing communism because the president won't stand up to a guy who rides a horse with no shirt. I've studied the flat tax and the fair tax, and the other tax, and the big tax, low tax, whatever. And yesterday I heard a presentation on the flat tax. And I agree with it. And that is the flat tax will pass the burden of taxation to the middle class. I don't care how you cut it. I think that we as Republicans can bring to the Senate, to the House, a graduated tax system. And finally do something about it, because our tax code has been addressed 0 times. Every politician under the sun talks about revising our tax code. Has it been revised? Has anybody seen it revised? I haven't seen it revised. I don't think it's going to be revised until Republicans get back into California politics after 2 decades of no United States senator from California, and only 6 in over 5 decades. That's not a good batting average. That's why I play golf, not baseball. We need to ensure life at conception, defund Planned Parenthood, take the death tax out of it. I don't want to pay to die. I didn't pay when I came into the world. My parents did. We need to place economic sanctions on countries that have no respect for life and vow to kill Americans here at home and abroad. And why are we sending billions of dollars to Iran and other countries where their warlords and their drug lords intercept our aid, our tractors, our feed that we send there, and of course, anything that we have in terms of technology that we can share, we do that. We also need to take into account that those billions of dollars, and think about this, could be used to feed our children, clothe our children, give them an education. What about taking care of our vets? One of the main priorities I have is to dismantle Veterans Administration. Excuse me, to kick ass and get these people out of the system. Heads would roll. We need to determine a fair and equitable immigration policy that does not include blanket amnesty. We got into this problem in the first place by not enforcing our rules and regulations. And this is, I'll come back to this in a moment, but one of the things that I want to do is put 2 or 3 people, staff people, solely on the job of looking at existing laws. Laws that came on the books in 1940, 1930, 19 whatever. Those laws may now be added substantially, or have been added substantially, to our national debt. Of course, one man raised our national debt by $7 trillion. And thankfully, he will be leaving, and hopefully, Hillary Clinton will be going to jail, not the White House. I'm in favor of life and conception, as I mentioned, and it was Ronald Reagan who said about abortion. It's interesting that those in favor of abortion have already been born. We need to reduce the size of government in Washington, making it less intrusive in our daily lives. And we need to pay down our national debt so our grandchildren and their children won't have to, and we can do it. And that brings me to the economy. We need to deregulate so businesses can flourish. We need to cut the corporate tax. We need to cut the capital gains tax. Let people have more money so that they can provide for their needs and provide the needs of their families. And also get actively involved in the political process by sharing a few bucks for guys like me who are traveling all over. Couple of tanks of gas would help, here and there. So getting back to immigration, as I said, the problem is that we haven't enforced our laws. We haven't said your visa has expired, and by the way, you haven't learned English, and you don't have a job, or the job that you do have may be one that is something that an American can do. So we need to say yes to deportation and no to sanctuary cities. How can we take in 11 million immigrants when we don't know who's here already? I want to know who they are. I want to vet why they are, what they are, and help with our security problems that we have in this nation and our safety problems. Who's here? Who's here to harm us? Who's here for good reasons? But deportation has got to be part of the immigration process. We also need to enact a comprehensive pension reform program at the federal level. As a U.S. Senator, Bob, Tom, Duff, and myself will automatically be awarded a pension within 1 year that you and I will, well, you're going to pay for it for the rest of my life. And I'm going to get a reduction on my medical care right off the bat. We have to take politicians and say, look, you know what? Go out in the private sector and get your own pension. Go out in the private sector and get your own health insurance because you didn't, let me put it this way. You didn't have enough guts to be part of the Obamacare process, where the only two things that worked were lies and deception, nothing else worked. And we need to tell them that they have to be more responsible in terms of taking care of their own pension needs, health needs, whatever else they have been given a free ride by exempting themselves out of things like Obamacare. We have to sustain Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid. And we also have to take care of our vets, as I mentioned, and make sure that they get the treatment that they need when they need it, and to the extent that they need it. We need good doctors, and we need good professionals who are assisting them. Vets died because of the VA screw-ups, and that's just not going to happen. We can't let that happen. Talking about the Affordable Care Act, it's driven up medical costs, and we're structured to increase premiums in just this year deductions. Your deductions run up. I have a daughter who has who has Obamacare because she has a special needs child. My grandson, just learning how to walk. He'll be 4 years old in 3 days. So Obamacare had better start working for my daughter. I'm going to be pretty ticked off when I get to the Senate and start working. Have a little incentive there. I want to place a moratorium on Common Core. I don't know about you, but when I went to school, 2 and 2 was 4. I missed it occasionally, I said 5. But why should a 3-year-old, third grade, look at this question as a quiz? One question is a quiz. The second question is a quiz. They have to provide 2 plus and a logarithm and a dissertation on mathematics to say 4. That would take a whole day at school, in my opinion. We're going to have the opportunity, as was mentioned, to put in place with Republican presidents starting in 2016, and then again in 2020, up to 4, possibly 5 new Supreme Court justices. We need to be thinking about that, doing our homework with the capability of making sure that they get through the House and the Senate. Now we've got responsible people sitting on the Supreme Court. Now meaning the future. Now we have a mess. And thank you, Judge Scalia. God bless you. We need to support alternative energies. I have a white paper, a comprehensive and sustainable solution to the water quality management problem we have out here. And the short term is to build the infrastructure that we need. It's a long-range planner. I dealt with infrastructure for over 3 decades. You have to have it in place. Why is Nevada not having a problem? Why does Arizona not have a problem? We have a problem because our politicians, those Democrats that were put in office, didn't do their homework. And now everybody out here is without. So, it was mentioned that desalination is a process that we should use. And we know there's, I think, up to 3 facilities being built. Our troops drank desalinized water in Europe, in the Philippines, and they would have in Japan had we not ended the war. So desalinized water has been tested, and the ability to build these plants, the alternative energy, and I'm also in favor of hydroelectric energy, because our dam in my city, south of Chicago, the hydro plant was, Commonwealth doesn't pull the rug out under our feet. I think that's what you would say. But I got a grant, and we reconstructed that hydroelectric facility, and it saved over $400,000 in electricity for our city. Desalination is something that Israel has done for over 10 years. They give the money to farmers to grow crops for their, to feed their country. And they give water free to business and industry to retain and create jobs. And I think the United States should do the same thing. Israel has turned a crisis into an economic engine. We can do it too. In closing, I'd like you to be my voice. This is a big state, and to travel all the time gets a little redundant, but of course it's necessary, and I bought into it. But in order to get my message out, I'm asking you to be my voice. Talk to your family members. Talk to your friends, your colleagues. Talk to your enemies. Just make sure they're voting Republican. If they would vote Tom Palzer, United States Senate, great. If they vote for Bob, great. If they vote for Duff, great. We need a Republican in office. So my closing remark is don't let inexperience represent you in Washington. Thank you very much, and I thank the candidates. I thank the organization, and I look forward to seeing you along the road again. Thank you.